I, 27M, William, guess I should lay out how this all went down. It's been a wild few years, and honestly, posting this feels a bit like finally closing a chapter. About 5 years ago, I was at a crossroads. I've been working on a tech side project for ages, an app designed to help indie artists manage their inventory and sales. It was my passion, the thing that made me jump out of bed in the morning. I'd poured countless late nights and weekends into it, running on coffee and pure belief. I was finally at a point where I thought, with a bit of seed money and full-time focus, I could actually make it fly. The problem? My then-girlfriend, Elizabeth, 26F, and my closest circle of friends, Donald, 27M, Joshua, 28M, and Sandra, 26F, were less than enthused. Elizabeth was planning our future, envisioning a stable 9 to 5 for me, a mortgage the whole 9 yards. My friends, all in fairly conventional jobs, just didn't get the startup hustle. They saw it as a pipe dream, a risky gamble. I called it dinner, hoping to share my excitement, maybe even get them on board for some initial small-scale investment or at least moral support. I had a small inheritance from my grandma, about $30,000 that I planned to use as my initial capital. The dinner was a disaster. Elizabeth, you're seriously thinking of quitting your job for that? William, we have plans. A deposit on a house doesn't just appear. Donald, dude, it's a cool hobby, but a career? Most of these app things crash and burn. You know the stats. Joshua, exactly. You got a good job, steady pay. Why throw that away for a lottery ticket? Sandra, we just want you to be realistic, William. We're worried you're going to end up broke and regretting this. It culminated in Elizabeth, backed by the others, giving me an ultimatum. Elizabeth, it's us or this tap, William. You need to decide what's more important. Your life with me, with your friends, or this fantasy. Donald actually nodded, saying, she's right, man. We can't just stand by and watch you self-destruct. If you go down this road, you're on your own. Even Joshua, usually quieter, chimed in with a soft, they're just being practical, William. Ouch. It wasn't just us or the app in terms of my relationship with Elizabeth, but it felt like us or the app with my entire support system. The air was thick. I remember looking at their faces, all serious and concerned, or so they framed it. Me, that's a hard choice you're giving me. Elizabeth, it shouldn't be, but this wasn't just an app. It was my app, my dream, my shot. The thought of abandoning it felt like cutting off a limb. The thought of losing them all hurt like hell too. I didn't say much else that night. Went home, hard on my boots. A couple of days later, after a lot of soul searching, I gave Elizabeth my answer. Me, I have to try Elizabeth. I'll always regret it if I don't. The $30,000 is mine, and I believe in this. Her face went cold. So you've made your choice. Me, I have to choose my dream. I wish you could support that. Elizabeth, support you throwing our future away? No, we're done, William. And we were. She moved out within the week. Donald, Joshua, and Sandra faded out too. Texts went unanswered, calls unreturned. They made their stance clear. If I chose the app, I was choosing to be without them. So I did. I quit my stable but soul-crushing job. Poured that $30,000 into registering the business, getting proper development tools, basic marketing. Lived on ramen and hope. It was terrifying, not gonna lie. The silence from my former life was deafening. But every small win with the app, a new user, positive feedback, fueled me. Let's see how this fantasy plays out, I thought. Update 1 to 18 months later. So, it's been about a year and a half since my original post, or rather, the events that led to it. Life's been a blur of code, coffee, and very little sleep. But Artisan Flow, that's what I named the app, started to get traction. First, it was a slow burn. A few dozen users, then 100. I was constantly tweaking, responding to feedback, adding features. Then, about 6 months ago, a major arts blog did a feature on new tools for independent creators and highlighted Artisan Flow. User signups exploded. Suddenly, I wasn't just a guy with a dream. I was a guy with a rapidly growing user base. I managed to secure a second round of funding from an angel investor who saw the potential. This allowed me to hire a couple of freelance developers and a part-time marketing person. We weren't Google, but we were a real, functioning company. The app was generating actual revenue. I was even paying myself a small but livable salary. My tiny apartment was still my office, but it felt less like a lonely cave and more like a bustling command center. The silence from my old crew had been total. Until about 2 months ago, Donald was the first to crack. He sent me a Facebook message. Donald, hey William, saw an article about Artisan Flow. Congrats, man. Looks like it's really taking off. Who knew? Who knew? Like he hadn't been one of the primary voices telling me it was a dead end. Me, hey Donald. Yeah, things are going well. Hard work paying off. Donald, cool. Listen, my company's looking for some new software solutions for project management. Nothing like your app, but you're in the tech world. Got any recommendations? Or hey, maybe Artisan Flow could even be adapted? LOL, JK. Unless... The casual way he tried to slide in a request for free consultation or even a hint at getting my company to solve his company's problems was something. I politely told him our focus was strictly on tools for artists and pointed him to some generic project management software. He went quiet after that. Then, about a month ago, Sandra reached out. An Instagram DM. Sandra, William, OMG, Artisan Flow is amazing. My cousin is a potter, and she uses it and says it's changed her life. So proud of you. We should totally catch up. This so proud of you felt like a twisting knife, considering she'd been part of the You're on Your Own brigade. Me. Thanks, Sandra. Glad your cousin likes it. Pretty swamped with work these days, but appreciate you reaching out. No offer to catch up. The bridge they burned wasn't going to be rebuilt with a casual DM. Elizabeth's mom, Donna, who I'd always gotten along with, though she always subtly championed Elizabeth's conventional plans for me, even sent me an email. Donna, William, dear, I hope you're doing wonderfully. I read about your app in the local business journal. Elizabeth mentioned you were always so clever with computers, even before your big success. I was wondering, my charity is looking to develop a small database for our donors. Nothing complicated. Perhaps you could offer some advice? Or even build something simple for us. Pro bono, of course, for a good cause. It felt less about the charity and more like a way to reestablish a connection, a gentle probe now that I was successful, perhaps with Elizabeth's encouragement. I replied to Donna kindly, explaining I was focused on Artisan Flow, but wished her well with the charity project and linked some free database tools. Joshua hasn't reached out directly, but I heard through the grapevine, a mutual acquaintance who hadn't ditched me, that Joshua had been laid off from his stable job about 3 months ago and was still looking. The irony wasn't lost on me. The hardest part wasn't their requests, but the casual assumption that they could just reappear and expect me to forget the ultimatum and the subsequent abandonment. They hadn't just doubted my dream. They tried to make me choose between it and them. I made my choice. They made theirs. Now, I'm gearing up for a major platform upgrade. Stressful, but exciting. The company is growing. Me? I'm more determined than ever. Update 2 to 3 years after original post. All right, another 1.5 years has passed. Artisan Flow isn't just taking off anymore. It's properly airborne. We secured Series F funding. We have actual offices now. Not some Silicon Valley palace, but a decent space with about 15 employees. We've won a couple of industry awards. I'm doing interviews, speaking at small tech conferences. It's surreal. I'm not mega rich, but I'm comfortable, and the business is valued impressively on paper. The $30,000 inheritance feels like a distant, almost mythical starting point. The requests from the old crew? They've escalated. Dramatically. Donald, after his initial feeler, apparently got more desperate. His stable company had more layoffs, and he was one of them. He called me. Directly. No text, no DM. Donald, William, buddy. So, things have been tough. You know how it is. That tech world is brutal if you're not at the top. The irony, I swear. Listen, Artisan Flow is huge now. You must need people, right? Project managers? Marketing guys? I've got experience, you know. I could really help you out. For old time's sake. For old time's sake. The old times when he told me I was making a massive mistake and basically ghosted me? Me, Donald. We have a hiring process. All open positions are listed on our website. You're welcome to apply like any other candidate. Donald, oh, all right. But you know me. We go way back. Couldn't you, put in a good word? Fast track me. Me. The process is fair for everyone, Donald. Skills and fit for the role are what matter. He grumbled something about loyalty and hung up. He did apply. His resume was underwhelming. He didn't get an interview. Cue a string of bitter texts about me forgetting where I came from and being a sellout. I blocked him. Then came Sandra. She apparently tried to use her cousin, the Potter, as an... The cousin had reached out to our support email, CCNG Sandra, asking for a partnership where Sandra would get a finder's fee for promoting Artisan Flow on her, very small, Instagram lifestyle blog. It was so transparently a grift. Our marketing lead politely declined, stating we had our own established affiliate programs with clear terms. Sandra then med me again, furious. Sandra, William, I can't believe you'd shut down my cousin like that. And me, I told her Artisan Flow was great. I've been your biggest cheerleader. This is how you treat friends. Me, Sandra, your cousin proposed a business arrangement that didn't fit our strategy. And honestly, a biggest cheerleader doesn't usually tell someone their dream is a fantasy and then vanish for years. Blocked her too. Her mom then sent me a long, rambling email about how Sandra was sensitive and I was heartless for not helping her build her influencer career. The biggest shocker was Elizabeth. She got engaged to some finance bro, fine, good for her. But then I got a wedding invitation and a little handwritten note tucked inside. Elizabeth, William, I know things ended abruptly, but that was a long time ago. I often think about what could have been. Seeing your success, it's impressive. I'm really proud of the man you've become. Maybe we could get coffee before the wedding? For closure. Proud of the man I've become. The man I was trying to become when she told me to choose. The closure coffee felt like a trap. Like she wanted to see if she could still reel me in, or maybe just get some kind of validation. I sent back the RSVP with regretfully declines checked. No note. A week later, her fiancé, a guy named Timothy, of course, sent me a LinkedIn connection request with a message. Heard you're doing big things with Artisan Flow. My firm is always looking for promising tech investments for our portfolio. Perhaps we could discuss synergy. The sheer audacity. Using their wedding invitation as a backdoor for a business pitch from the guy she left me for because I wasn't a safe bet. I declined the LinkedIn request. No explanation. The smear campaign started subtly. Mutual acquaintances started asking weirdly pointed questions. Heard you're really hard to work for, William. Someone said you stole the initial idea for Artisan Flow. Is it true you got lucky with one investor and now you act like you're Steve Jobs? It was classic. They couldn't get what they wanted through direct requests, so they were trying to undermine me. My old friends, Elizabeth, and by extension their families and new partners, were clearly bitter. My response? Pure professionalism in public, but behind the scenes, I talked to my small legal team. We sent a very polite, very firm cease and desist letter to Donald after he posted some defamatory stuff on a local tech forum, vaguely alluding to unethical founders he used to know. It wasn't a major legal battle, just a sharp warning. He took the post down. The dirty tricks were annoying, but honestly, they just solidified my resolve. They weren't just people who'd made a mistake in judgment. They were actively trying to sabotage or leech off my success because their own lives hadn't panned out as they'd hoped. The revenge isn't about shouting or grand gestures. It's about thriving. It's about the continued success of Artisan Flow being the ultimate answer to their ultimatum. Every positive review, every new hire, every milestone the company hits is a testament to the choice I made. My team is amazing. My current life is full. I have new friends, genuine friends who support my ambitions and celebrate successes, not try to ride on coattails. The old wounds have mostly healed, replaced by a kind of weary disappointment in people I once cared for. Final update. 5 years after original post. It's been 5 years. 5 years since that awful dinner. Artisan Flow was acquired by a major tech company 6 months ago. The deal was significant. Life-changing, really. I'm still with the company, leading the Artisan Flow division, ensuring the vision stays true. The financial security is obviously incredible, but more than that, it's the validation. The fantasy paid off. So what about Elizabeth, Donald, Joshua, and Sandra, the final bosses of entitlement? Donald. After the cease and desist, he went quiet for a long time. About a month after the acquisition news broke, it was in all the major business news outlets. He emailed me. Subject, a humble request. He apologized. Sort of. More like a sorry if I misjudged things. Then he got to the point. He was still struggling, had a mountain of debt, and asked if I could help him out with a small personal loan of $50,000. Said he'd pay it back once he was on his feet. I didn't reply. 2 weeks later, his mom emailed me, pleading his case, saying he was a good boy who made mistakes and that my success should be shared with those who were there in the beginning. There in the beginning to tell me I'd fail. The selective memory is astounding. Ignore that too. Sandra, she and her mom actually, showed up at my office building unannounced after the acquisition. They didn't have an appointment, so security, politely, wouldn't let them up. Sandra apparently caused a bit of a scene in the lobby, crying about how I was family, we were never family, and how she just wanted to congratulate me and discuss opportunities. Our head of security, a no-nonsense ex-military guy, eventually escorted them out. They left a card with the receptionist. It was a cheesy congrats card with Sandra's number, and let's talk about my influencer career. I can really help Artisan Flow now, scribbled inside. Threw it in the trash. Joshua, the quiet one. He finally surfaced. He sent me a long, handwritten letter. This one, I'll admit, seemed the least offensive on the surface. He wrote about his admiration for what I'd built, his own job struggles, how he regretted his lack of foresight and support. He even attached a resume that showed he'd been taking some online courses to upskill. For a nanosecond, the performance almost worked. Then I remembered his face at that dinner, not just nodding along with Elizabeth and Donald, but actively chiming in with that quiet, "Yeah, William, they're just being practical." The quiet agreement, the subtle undermining, could be just as damaging, sometimes more insidious than the loud denouncement. His letter, for all its supposed humility, still felt like another angle, another attempt to get something now that the fantasy had paid off. He didn't ask for much, just if I knew of any openings for a junior analyst or something similar anywhere. He wasn't getting a job through a back channel based on a well-crafted apology. I had my HR head send him a standard, "Thank you for your interest. We'll keep your resume on file" email. No special treatment. Elizabeth and Timothy. This one was the chef's kiss of consequence. About 2 months ago, I got an email from Timothy. Not from his work address, but a personal Gmail. He was no longer with the big finance firm. Apparently, some of his own risky investments had gone south, and he'd been let go. He was starting his own consultancy and wondered if Artisan Flow, under its new parent company, would be interested in his strategic financial advisory services. He even had the gall to write, "Elizabeth sends her best and often speaks of your drive. Perhaps she was right about you all along." The absolute, unmitigated nerve. My response, through my assistant, was a polite, one-sentence declination. Then, the piece de resistance. I heard from Donna, Elizabeth's mom, again. A tearful voicemail this time. Elizabeth and Timothy were separating. His financial woes had apparently torpedoed the marriage. Donna asked if I could talk to Elizabeth because she was so lost and always valued my opinion deep down. Her tone was pure desperation, but it was the same old script from Donna. Really, William as the problem solver, William as the safety net, always with Elizabeth's needs at the center. First, it was a pro bono app for her charity when I became successful. Now it was pro bono emotional labor for her daughter when Elizabeth's life hit the skids. She even hinted that Elizabeth realized she made a mistake, letting me go. As if that changed anything about the ultimatum or the years of silence. Yeah, no, I didn't call Elizabeth. That ship hadn't just sailed. It had been decommissioned, stripped for parts, and the wreckage was now a distant memory. The best revenge truly is living well, and in my case, building something they said couldn't be built. They demanded I choose. I chose. They're now living with the consequences of their lack of faith and their subsequent attempts to claw their way back into a life they actively tried to prevent me from achieving. My life is good. I'm working on new projects within the larger company, mentoring young entrepreneurs, and finally enjoying some of the fruits of my labor. I travel, I've reconnected with genuine friends, and I'm even dating someone new, an amazing woman who is a successful artist herself and uses Artisan Flow daily. She thinks my origin story is badass. The silence from the old crew is now mostly complete, and it's golden. They got this space, they effectively gave me an infinite amount of it. They wanted me to choose. I did, and I'd do it all again.